very basic slide. I hope you have read the slide. Have you read the slide? All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that I'm moving on to the next slide. So the colors, okay. In next slide also there are so many slides. I have classified it. I think the slide has mixed up. When I give you the slide, I'll arrange it properly. Okay, today I could not arrange the slides because of some network problem. I've arranged actually the one that I had saved that has gone missing somehow. Okay, so in the coming slides, we'll find there is one slide in which it is written how the food colors are classified. Okay, they are basically classified as natural food colors and artificial food colors. Okay, so the natural food colors include what? They include chlorophylls, carotenoids, flavonoids, anthocyanins, tannins, betalains, quinones, and xanthones. Okay, so these are some of the natural food colors. Now we'll see about the chlorophylls. So which compound or which element is found in chlorophyll? Which metal is found in chlorophyll?
Magnesium.
Magnesium. So this is one of the questions sometimes it is asked. Okay, so remember magnesium is found in the chlorophyll structure. Okay, so this has got what type of color? Green color. Okay, and this structure you are seeing in green color. Okay, we'll see another structure. See this one. Okay, the porphyrin rings. Okay, so these rings are the base of the chlorophyll structure, and they have got a pyrrole carbon atoms on the periphery of the porphyrin structure, which are numbered from 1 to 8, and these carbon atoms they are designated as alpha, beta, and gamma and then delta. So the substitute porphyrins are named as porphyrins, and it is a macrocyclic tetrapyrrole pigment in which the pyrrole rings are formed by the methane bridges. So these are in very details, but just to remember what is the basic structure, okay, and what is the element that is found in this structure, okay, and then we come to the different forms of chlorophyll. The most important form of chlorophyll that we are mainly using in food product are the chlorophyll A and the chlorophyll B part. Okay, and together it can sometimes it is available as a mixture as well. Okay, so what is this chlorophyll? And chlorophyll A is found in which type of, or what are the sources of chlorophyll A and what are the sources of chlorophyll B? Chlorophyll A is mainly found in plants, algae, and other aquatic organism. Okay, and it absorbs light from the red, blue, and violet wavelengths and gets its color by reflecting green. Okay, regarding chlorophyll B, it is mostly found in the plants. Okay, and it primarily absorbs which color? Blue color. Okay, and the pigment itself is yellow in color. So if you want a deep green, obviously it should be chlorophyll A. If you want like light green, it should have some part of chlorophyll B also. Okay, so as we have seen in chlorophyll A, in chlorophyll B also we have got 4 nitrogen ring with magnesium at the center. Okay, so this is the structure of chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Okay, the porphyrin structure is shown in the red, and the magnesium ion is bounded by the 4 nitrogen groups in the porphyrin ring itself. These 4 rings, they are known as the tetrapyrroles. Okay, and come to chlorophyll C1. So chlorophyll C1 in conjunction with chlorophyll A, they absorb light and aids in photosynthesis. That is, we are not concerned. We are concerned about the coloring part. Okay, so chlorophyll C has got what type of color? Brownish. Okay, and chlorophyll C consists of the porphyrin ring also, but it does not have that particular alkyl tail. Okay, and chlorophyll C2 is similar to chlorophyll C1. Okay, but it is mainly found in marine and freshwater algae, and it does also have the same structure, but it does not alkyl chain. See, it does not have the alkyl chain. What is the alkyl chain? Tail means the alkyl chain. Can you see? This is the, along with the porphyrin structure, we have a alkyl chain that is at the bottom. Can you see the chain? This particular chain which is kept at the bottom, or you can see it is placed in the bottom, this is missing in these two, C1 and C2. Okay. Then we have chlorophyll D. So this chlorophyll D is mainly found in marine sources, and mostly in cyanobacteria we find this type of chlorophyll D, and this absorbs light in the red end of the light spectrum. Then chlorophyll F. Okay, this is also found in cyanobacteria, and this absorbs the infrared light, and this also absorbs at the red spectrum. Okay. Now, chlorophyll is registered as a food additive, and its E number is E140. Okay. So, can you tell me now, chlorophyll A imparts what type of color? Chlorophyll A imparts what?
Deep green.
Okay. Chlorophyll B?
Yellow.
Chlorophyll C? Chlorophyll C?
Brownish and
Okay. Chlorophyll D? See, chlorophyll C, brownish or golden. Chlorophyll D, reddish color. Okay. And chlorophyll A also same. And what is the E number for chlorophyll?
140.
E140. Okay. How many porphyrin ring are there in chlorophyll structure?
4.
4. What is the element that is present in the porphyrin ring, in between the porphyrin rings?
Magnesium.
Magnesium. So I hope you remember. Okay. Now we'll come with the carotenoids.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Ma'am, yes.
What is E number? What is E number?
I'll come with the slide on E number. Okay. In that details are there. Okay. Okay. Then carotenoids. Okay. So carotenoids are the lipid soluble yellow, orange, red pigments found in the chloroplast and the chromoplast in plants and animals. And animals cannot synthesize carotenoids, and because of their physiological makeup. Okay. And therefore they have to take these carotenoids from the diet itself. Now, all these are general statements. We'll see. Here lycopene is having a spelling mistake. It's not LICO, it's LYCO. Okay. So if you see the structure of carotenoids, I'll just minimize the slide. Okay, so you see the carotenoids, alpha carotene, beta carotene, gamma carotene, sometimes lycopene also comes under this category. Okay, and now these carotenoids had two structural groups, and they are hydrocarbon keratins and the oxygenated xanthophylls. Okay, this xanthophyle, it can consist of hydroxyl, epoxy, aldehyde and ketone groups. And the basic carotenoid structural backbones consist of the isoprene units, which are linked covalently by the alkyl chain. Okay. Can you see the lycopene? It has been cut in the slides.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So lycopene, sometimes it is a precursor for the synthesis of beta carotene. Okay. And the most important source of lycopenes are from the tomatoes, watermelon, and the grapefruits. Okay. And the guava, it's like not the white guava. You know, there is pinkish guava is there. That is the source of lycopene. Okay. Then we have lutein. Lutein is also a very common carotenoid, and it is derived from a Latin word for yellow. So lutein word is derived from yellow. Sometimes, you know, they will ask whether pumpkin is having lutein color or not, or pumpkin is having like carotene is present or lutein is present. Okay. So yellow is for carrot. Sometimes the yellow color is for carotene also. Sometimes the yellow color is for lutein also. So you have to know which particular vegetable contains, or which particular fruit or food product contains this type of color. Okay, so the questions will be like that. These are very means general statements. Then flavonoids. The slide has been cut. It has not been saved properly actually. Okay. So flavonoid, this flavonoid, it means again yellow color. So you see there is how much means confusion. One is yellow color is for lutein, yellow color is for carotenoids, yellow color is for flavonoids. Okay. And then again, if you see the subgroups, the anthocyanins, anthocyanidins, flavanones, flavins, all this. So sometimes what happens, they will give you a vegetable or they will give you a fruit. Okay. Then they will ask what type of pigment will be present in this. Okay. So you have to remember which particular vegetable is rich in which pigment. Okay. So again, flavonoids, they impart yellow color, and their subgroups include all these components. Then coming to the structure, you see in the structure they have got a 15 carbon skeleton ring in which they have got 2 phenyl rings and a heterocyclic ring. Okay, and the carbon structure sometimes it is abbreviated as C6, C3 and C6. Okay, and the chemical group in flavonoids is the ortho heterocyclic compounds. Then the three cycle of the heterocycles in the flavonoid backbone are the ring A, B, and C, and which shows a fluoroglucinol substitution pattern. Okay. Flavonoids are the most important plant pigments for flower coloration and then produces yellow or red-blue pigmentation in petals designed to attract pollinator animals. Although this is not related to your this thing. Okay. Now you see this slide. So flavonoids, so many groups you have seen, so many components, and within those components you will be having the subcomponents. Okay, now you can see this and we'll discuss this in details when you see the different vegetables and the fruits in which these pigments are present. Okay, this is nothing but just you have to remember. Okay, there is no other option. Anthocyanins. Okay, anthocyanins.
Back to that slide once.
Hmm.
Ma'am, in this, in green tea, all these items are there, catechins and all these things, and same for broccoli and everything. So, do we have to remember the names of these components also, or just the vegetable?
No, it's like not vegetables. It's about that was part what I told you is regarding suppose it's they have given like as I told you they have given suppose pumpkin. Okay, or suppose they will give you like beetroot is there. Okay, so which type of pigment do you expect in this particular vegetable? Okay, now this flavanols you are means you are seeing no. A few minutes back I had told you that sometimes, and few minutes back some of I think one of the student also told me that apart from the like imparting color to the food products, sometimes these colors they perform a side activity also. So they have got a side function also. As for example, some of them might be having a antioxidant activity. Okay, so some of them might be having like some health benefits. Okay, so here if you see the from the left, if you see the third part, that is flavonols. Okay, in flavonols if you see the catechins, epicatechins, can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so these flavonoids, they are the group, main group. So under this main group, there are so many things, anthocyanidins, isoflavonoids. So these are the subcomponents. Okay, so these flavonols, they comprises of these catechins, epicatechins. But catechins, epicatechins are found in what? Gallate. Can you tell me?
Tea.
Yes, it's found in tea. Okay, so that means if they're asking any question related to tea, means you have to read all this and you have to correlate with the products, food products. Okay, got it? So when you are reading about the processing aspect of tea or processing aspect of coffee, Okay, there you should correlate with this, that this particular component is the pigment, that is, it is included in the food pigment as well as it has got this functional component. Got it? This epicatechin, epicatechin, all these are found in tea. Am I right?
Okay, ma'am.
Can you get me? Can you get me? Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
basically you have to remember all these things. It has got nothing, means there is no like nothing details in this that I have to means tell you that you have to remember this thing, but you have to remember this particular this terminologies with respect to the particular food product. Got it? Okay. The one this component is there, naringin. Can you see naringenin?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see? So this type of components I'll come to the slide, or I'll teach you when I teach you with the food flavors, flavoring components. Got it? So out of this, many components will be present in the food flavors also. Got it? So you remember this, the all these terminologies you remember, so that you can relate at the time when I'm teaching other topic. Okay? Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that fine? Okay. So anthocyanins. So anthocyanins, this particular pigment is present in those vegetables and fruits which are usually dark blue or violet in color. Okay, and again they belong to the class of molecules called flavonoids. You see here, anthocyanidins or anthocyanins. Okay, so here, so this anthocyanin, they're odorless, they're flavorless, and they have got a moderate astringent sense. Okay, and occurrence, they are saying that it occurs in almost fruits and vegetables, but the quantity it depends. Okay, and depending on the color that you perceive, okay, that will give you an indication whether the anthocyanin content is more or less. Is that fine? Now this is the production they have given. This is not for you, not needed. Okay, the basic structure of anthocyanin is 2-phenyl-benzopyrrolium of the flavulum salt. This aspect that is written in red, it is important. 2-phenyl-benzopyrrolium. Can you pronounce one by one so that you do not run away while remembering this? Yes, students?
2-phenyl benzopyrrolium.
Very good. Next. Next student, please.
2-phenyl benzopyrrolium.
Very good. Next.
2-phenyl benzopyrrolium.
Next.
2-phenyl
Next.
2-phenyl benzopyrrolium.
benzopyrrolium.
Very good. Next.
benzopyrrolium.
Next.
2-phenyl
2-phenyl benzopyrrolium.
Next.
2-phenyl benzopyrrolium.
Next. Over? Anybody left out? Okay. So they differ in the number of polyhydroxy or polymethoxy derivatives of the salt. And anthocyanin is a pigment which is which consists of a aglycine which is esterified with the sugar and forming a heterocyclic compound. Okay. When the sugar moiety of any anthocyanin molecule is hydrolyzed, what we get is the ag glycone. Okay. That is the non-sugar hydrolysis product, and it is known as the anthocyanidin. Okay. Now, what is the difference between anthocyanin and cyanidin? You can get it. Okay. So, the anthocyanins, they are subdivided into the sugar-free anthocyanidin glycons and the anthocyanin glycosides. Okay. And these anthocyanins, they are the water-soluble pigments, and they may appear red, they may appear purple, and they may also appear blue depending on the pH. Okay, and plants that are rich in anthocyanins, they include the blackcurrant, the cherries, the eggplant. Eggplant, you know what is it?
Brinjal.
Yes, brinjal. The black grapes, the black rice, the red cabbage, all these are rich in anthocyanins. Okay. So this is again they have classified. Okay, this you just need to remember it. Okay, means these subcomponents, they are classified under anthocyanin compound, that you need to remember. Okay. Then tannins. Okay, so tannins mostly they are found in what?
T.
T. And they are soluble in water, or this
Water soluble.
tannins. Yes. Hello.
Nothing,
Anything
ma'am.
you want to Anything you want to say? Hello. Anybody was saying something?
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So these tannins, they're the water soluble components and they are polyphenolic in nature. Okay. And they're found in the tea, as you told. Okay. And the structure of tannins. Okay. So tannins can be classified in major three groups. What are they? Hydrolyzable tannins, non-hydrolyzable tannins, and fluorotannins. So the hydrolyzable tannins, they are known as what? Or I mean, what is the example of hydrolyzable tannin? Gallic acid. Okay, gallic acid has got antioxidant activity as well. Whenever we try to express the antioxidant activity, we express it in terms of gallic acid. Okay, apart from other compounds. Okay, so the next one, that is non-hydrolyzable tannins, they include flavones, and the fluorotannins, they include the fluoroglucinols. Okay, now typically the tannin molecules, they require at least 12 hydroxyl groups and at least 5 phenyl groups to function as protein binders. Okay, and the chemical group is the ortho heterocyclic compounds. In what other pigments you have got this ortho heterocyclic compounds? In what other pigment? Right now I had shown you. Which is this pigment?
Anthocyanin.
Okay, so anthocyanin and tannin both have got a ortho heterocyclic compound. Okay. Now, how does tannin taste? It is bitter in nature. It has got a astringent taste, or you can say it has got astringence. Okay. And what is the color of tannin? Yellowish to light brown. Okay. Then betalains. So betalains are found mostly in what?
Beetroot.
Beetroots. Okay. And
Ma'am?
they are a class. Yes.
Ma'am,
And
are
anybody?
all kind of tannins are phenolic groups?
All kinds of
Tannins are phenolic groups.
just wait. See, here it is written. Typically, tannin molecules should contain at least 5 phenyl groups. Okay. First, this is a hint for you whether it is having a phenolic group or not. Okay. Second, they are the water soluble polyphenolic compounds. So these tannins, they are phenolic in nature. They have a phenolic ring. So now you tell me your this thing. All
Yes, ma'am.
tannins.
Yes, ma'am. I was asking, are all tannins phenolic groups or not?
All tannins means, what do you mean by all tannins?
Means all the three types. There are three types of tannins. So I was asking, all of them are phenolic group or not? Means the hydrolyzable, the non-hydrolyzable, and the phylorotannins. Means all these groups are phenolic groups or not?
They have got the phenol groups.
Okay, ma'am.
That's why I told you, na, to give you a self answer. Means suppose if you are having such type of confusion, okay, you must try to remove your confusion based on other concepts. Like, see, a typical tannin molecule, it consists of how many phenol groups?
At least
How many
5.
phenyl groups are there? At least 5. Okay, then the definition of tannins itself says that it is a water soluble polyphenolic compound. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Then this is betalains. Okay. So betalains, they are red and yellow indole derived compounds. Okay. And these compounds are mainly found in beetroots. Okay. And sometimes they're also found in flowers, even fruits. Okay. And you can derive this water soluble pigment from the plant cells also. So you have to extract it before you use them in foods. Okay. So they have given two categories of betalains. What are they? Beta-cyanins and beta-xanthins. So what is the color for beta-cyanins?
Reddish to
Reddish
violet.
to violet. And what is the color for beta-xanthins?
Yellow to orange.
Yellow to orange. Okay. And beta-cyanins that are present in plants, they also include what? Betanin, isobetanin, probetanin, and neobetanin. So all these compounds, that is betanin, isobetanin, probetanin, they are the subcomponent of what? Beta-cyanins. And what are the subcomponents of beta-xanthins? Valgaxanthin, myraxanthin, portulaxanthin, and indicaxanthin. Okay. So can you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever read this before in your course? Students, I'm asking you.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you read previously?
And not about beta xanthins, but about the rest of them, yes.
Beta-cyanins. So what are the components of beta-cyanins? Can you repeat?
Betanin, isobetanin, no.
Probetanin. You can see and tell.
Neobetanin.
Not an issue. Neobetanin. And what about beta-xanthins? What are the components? Tell me.
Valgaxanthin, myraxanthin, portulaxanthin, and indicaxanthin.
That's good. So what is the color for beta-cyanin?
Red to violet.
And what about the color for beta-xanthin?
Yellow to orange.
Yellow to orange.
Okay, that's fine. So coming to the structure. Betalains, they are having a aromatic indole rings. Okay. And they are synthesized from tyrosine. Okay. Now regarding tyrosine and all, I'll take one class. In that, I'll show you about the aromatic amino acids. So in that, tyrosine is there. So therein you will see the structure, which is saying that the heterocyclic compounds. Okay. So each betalain is a glycoside and consists of a sugar and a colored portion. And betalains contain nitrogen, whereas anthocyanins do not. So what is the difference between anthocyanin and betaline that they have told? Okay. Now quinones. It's a very boring topic, you know, right? You people are all sleeping, it seems.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So quinones. Quinones are widely distributed in the plant kingdom. Okay. And it gives color to the wood. And it is bitter in taste. So you can guess what should be the color of quinone. Means what type of color is being imparted by the quinone. Okay. It's the color of the wood. Okay. And so some of those compounds, that is the compounds of quinones, they act as electron acceptors in the electron transport chain. And also during the photosynthesis, the compounds that are used, or you can say the most important compounds from the quinone group, are the plastoquinone, phylloquinone, and ubiquinone. What are they that are required for the photosynthesis? Which two compounds from quinone group are required for photosynthesis?
Plastoquinone and phylloquinone.
And what is the component required for aerobic respiration?
Ubiquinone.
It is ubiquinone. Okay. And again, these slides, they were not saved properly. Okay. So quinone, what is the test for quinone? It is bitter in nature. Okay. And the color change, usually we find that sometimes the color of the woods changes. Okay. And this change in color is mainly due to the addition of the hydroxyl group. So don't see this slide anymore because this font arrangement is not proper. Okay. So coming to the structure, this class, that is the quinone class. Okay. So they include the heterocyclic compounds and their oxidized derivatives of the aromatic compounds. And they're often made from the reactive aromatic compounds such as phenols and the catechols. Okay. And these phenolic compounds, they vary in their molecular weight. And if you want to remember, you can remember. Otherwise, these are the slides of a master degree food chemistry, so you did not to remember also. Okay, but if you want to remember, you can remember these monomers and dimers and trimers. Okay, and these are the subcomponents of the quinone groups: benzoquinone, naphthoquinone, and anthraquinone. Then coming to xanthones, these pigments are yellow in color, and they are confused with the quinones and the flavones. And many xanthones are, they are phytochemical in nature. Their molecular structure is like this. Okay, so you can see. So this slide has to go up. Okay, before I proceed more, I'll just show you a slide. Somebody asked me with what is E number, right? Just hold on. So are you willing to appear for a test, all the students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm? Ponna, are you there in the class?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
So is there any provision for test? I mean, somebody is taking test for like for you all? Any provision? Means, I don't know, I'm asking.
Ma'am, Anita ma'am, or Kita ma'am is
Taking test. I'm not able to hear you. Ponna, are you speaking?
ma'am. I
Students,
am
can you hear
facing
me?
network issue.
I'm also facing network issues. That's why I keep on asking that. Like other students, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. No tests till now have been taken by any teacher.
Yes, ma'am. Noted. Just for maths only.
Huh?
Assignments have been given, ma'am, before for the complete for food technology, but the test has not yet been taken.
Test has not yet been taken. Hmm? Okay, that's fine. I hope to take one test because when you take test, then only you will study. Otherwise, not. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. That is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
nature of the students. I'll show you a slide on E numbers. Just hold on. Can you see this? Can you see the screen? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so respond me. Otherwise, it's okay. So now you see what are E numbers. So this why I did not say at that time, because these E numbers, they are means allotted to the food additives. Okay, so it's not necessary only for the food colors it will be there. Okay, but for other additives also it might be there. So I thought that when I start with the food additives, at that point I'll show you. But since you wanted to see it, who was asking me with the E numbers?
Me, ma'am. I was asking.
Uh, can you see
Yes, ma'am, I
what are E
can see.
numbers?
Yes, ma'am. E numbers are simply a
Okay,
systematic way, like
so basically these
represent the
numbers, they represent the different types of food additives. Because you see, if you are allotting the numbers like E100, okay, or like you see what is the E number range for colors, it is in between 100 to 199. For preservatives it is between 200 to 299. Okay, so that is the way to what to say, like differentiate. Means suppose if you take a food product and you will see so many E numbers are there, E122, then E232, or E like 670. So if you want to remember, basically you have to remember. Okay, there is no other option. You have to remember. You have to put pressure on your mind that 1 starts for color. Okay, 2 starts for preservative, 3 starts for acidity regulators and antioxidants. Okay, 4 for thickeners, stabilizers and emulsifiers, 5 for the anti-caking agents and the pH regulators, that is uh, related to the acids and all. Okay, and then for flavor enhancers it starts with 6, antibiotics 7, okay, other sweeteners with 9, and then above 10 new chemicals. Okay, so once you see it starts with 1, E1 something, so obviously it will be related to the colors. Okay, if it is like E3 starts with, it is starting with 3, so either it will be a acidity regulator or it will be an antioxidant. Okay, is that fine?
Ma'am,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Ponna.
Ponna, I can hear you.
Ma'am, Keta ma'am or Anita ma'am just discuss food tech topics, ma'am, but not taking test, ma'am.
But I am planning
Any
to
topic.
take test of for my subjects, because I know,
Okay, ma'am.
because
Okay, ma'am,
until
sure.
and unless I take test and until and unless I put you in pressure, okay, you won't study, and like shouting for so many hours will not be fruitful until and unless you keep all these things into your mind. Okay, so I
Okay, ma'am,
have
you
to,
arrange. Okay, ma'am, we will
but that
arrange,
would be
ma'am.
in the extra class, not in the scheduled classes.
Okay, ma'am,
Okay,
I will arrange the class, ma'am, at Sunday. No problem, ma'am.
Sunday or any other day, you see. Okay, or
Okay,
other
ma'am.
thing,
Okay, ma'am.
if
Okay, ma'am.
one more thing, because it's an online thing. Okay, if I give the test in like theory mode, got it, so what will happen, people will see and write if you're not able to remember the answers. So can it be a discussion, like I'll ask questions one by one and you will be answering? Is
Yes,
it
ma'am. That's
possible?
better.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's for better
Students,
for
please
all, ma'am.
suggest me. Though so many, I find so many students: Jarka, Yamini, Shweta, Sujata, Shwetali, Ria, Radhika. Please come up with your ideas. What should be done
I'm through
to make you
discussion.
remember the topics? Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Through discussion.
You arrange
Discussion
question
will be
paper,
okay, ma'am.
then
No, if I prepare question paper and then I like put it in the like Google Classroom or somewhere, then what will happen? You'll see and write. Okay, because it's an easy option. It means okay, fine, I'll study later on. But this should not be the case. No, like study later on.
Yes,
No,
ma'am,
ma'am.
we'll have
Polling test
discussion.
can be conducted, or you can display the questions, and you can give limited amount of time in the online class itself, and we have to write the answers, and then we can check.
Acha, that part you want. Okay, so let me think over it, and then I'll see how to manage with the things. And but most probably be ready with the means topics. Means I'll give you means I'll ask you questions one by one. Okay, and if the discussions are inside the class only, so other students can also hear and they will be able to recapitulate what they have learned. Got it? Okay, so we'll
okay,
continue
ma'am.
with the uh, presentation wherein we were left with the artificial coloring. Okay, hold on. Okay, so the artificial, so till now we had discussed about the natural coloring. Now we'll go to the artificial coloring. Okay, so artificial coloring, so artificial coloring compounds, they are sometimes known as the azo dyes. Okay, and these azo dyes and the color of these dyes can be controlled by selecting the number of azo groups and their various substituents. Okay, so you see how yellow shades are obtained. They're achieved by using acetonilide and the heterocyclic compounds. Okay, the red colors, they can be achieved by the reaction between an aniline derivative, that is the diazo group, with a naphthol derivative. Okay, and the blue shade can be achieved by replacing the aniline derivative with a benzidine derivative. Okay, then these are the different type of artificially synthesized dyes, that is FDC and C, FD and C. Sometimes we say it as FDC also. Blue, that is brilliant blue, FCF. Okay, so these are the E numbers you have to remember. Okay, brilliant blue, then indigotine, then fast green, erythrocene, allura red. See, there are some of the what to say, like some of the shades that you can understand, that like brilliant blue, it will give you a blue shade. Indigotine, so it will give a indigo, that means deep blue. Okay, fast green, obviously you'll get a turquoise shade. Okay, now erythrocene, if you cannot remember what type of color it is giving, okay, you just remember erythro R. Okay, it gives color towards red side. Okay, here it is given pink shade. Okay, usually that you are finding in cherries. Okay, allura red, obviously from this you can understand that it is the red color. Tartrazine. Okay, this is the most difficult part, because tartrazine, what happens, if we remember tartrazine, we are reminded of the red color, but it is not red color, it is the yellow. Then sunset yellow, it will give you the orange shade. Okay, then erythrocene, obviously it will give you the red color. So this color in which type of materials you can use, that they have given. And remember, these artificial colors, they are having side effects, and they can cause allergies. They might even lead to cancer. Okay, and the allergy itself will give rise to a plethora of the diseases. Okay, this is tartrazine. So what is the color imparted by tartrazine?
Yellow.
Yes. Allura red. Okay, so these are some of the colors and the side effects they are given. Okay, nothing but you have to just remember the things. Okay, these are some of the colors which are banned in US. Got it? Now this is a bit hazy color. I'll give you the clear slides. Okay, don't worry about it. These are the dangers I told you, the allergic reactions and the hyperactivity and the cancer related diseases. Okay, the tumors and all. So just you have to read it. Okay, nothing else is there. Now these are limitations of using the natural food color. Okay, so what are the limitations? The natural food color, they have got their own flavor. So along with the color, you will be having that particular flavor. Even if you are not, it is not desired in that particular food product, but still it will impart that flavor. So that is one of the disadvantage of using the natural food color. Okay, and the natural food color might not be retained when subjected to different processing conditions. And one of the processing condition is the high temperature. Sometimes we have to also take into account what type of pH, okay, that particular food is having. So if that particular food color is not stable, okay, under that pH, you cannot use that. Okay, then some of the natural food colors, they also causes allergic reactions. Although natural food colors are not known for their disadvantage in terms of like health disadvantages, but still some of the food colors like annatto and cochineal extract, they are causing this allergic reaction. Okay, and natural food colors, they are costly than the artificial colorings. Okay, as such they are not costly, but the processing, that is the extraction of the natural food colors, they are costly, and that's why the natural food colors are costly. Okay, and obviously their availability is very scarce. Okay, and they are required in the large quantities. Now this is another slide. It's you require attention on this. What is the difference between dyes and the lakes? Okay, so dyes are what? They are soluble in water, but not soluble, that is insoluble in oil. But lakes, if you see, they are soluble in, or you can say dispersible in oil, but sometimes they are partially soluble in water, but not fully soluble in water. Okay, and they are manufactured in the forms of, in case of dyes, they are manufactured in the form of powders, granules, liquids, and other forms in which it is required by the food processing industries. Okay, and dyes, they sometimes they have side effects. Okay, then coming to the legs, they are more stable than the dyes. Okay, and their typical use that are used like they're used in different food products like cakes. Okay, in case of tablets also we are using, in candies we are using. Okay, and non-food products also they find their uses. Okay, so this is all about the food colors and pigments, and we'll start with another topic, that is anti-nutritional factors. So this topic is not that interesting, but still you have to read it. Okay, don't avoid this topic. So what are anti-nutritional factors?
Factors, they are the components of food which have got negative impact on the health.
Negative impact. Okay, what do you mean by negative impact?
They
Means
do not
do they?
let the absorption of any one of the nutrient take place because of the
Yes.
presence of them.
Yes. So naturally what happens when there is malabsorption of any nutrients, then automatically your body is devoid of that particular nutrient and metabolic syndromes will appear. Okay, so these are the anti-nutritional factors. So these are those substances which are when present in the animal feed or like water or your means your feed, I mean the food that we are consuming. Okay, then it will reduce the or decrease the availability of one or more nutrients. Okay, and they are naturally present in plants, they nobody adds them up. Okay, and they do not have any nutrient. Okay, rather they deprive the body with the nutrients. Okay, and they act to reduce the nutrient intake, digestion and absorption, and interferes with the utilization in our body. Okay, and they are harmful for human beings and sometimes beneficial in what sense? Like since they are not beneficial for the physiological system, some of the microorganisms or some of the insects or the pests that harbor inside the food products, okay, especially the raw products, okay, they will not infect, or you can say they will not attack that particular food product. Okay, that is the only advantage. Otherwise it has got all the disadvantage. Okay, now its effects depends upon the digestion process and the concentration, and its concentration in the food material. So what are the anti-nutritional factors that are present in food? They are the glycoalkaloids, they are the lectins, they are the phytohemogglutinin, they are goitrogens, they are cyanogenic glycosides, they are tannins, they are protease inhibitors, and they are phytic acid. Okay. So what are protease inhibitors? What are proteases? What are proteases?
Enzyme which digest proteins.
Very good. Enzymes which digest proteins. So protease inhibitors means the substances which will inhibit the enzymes that hydrolyzes proteins. So the definition says that it inhibits the proteolytic activity of the certain enzymes by forming a insoluble complex with enzymes like trypsin, chymotrypsin, pepsin and elastase. And what are the sources of these protease inhibitors? They are the cereal grains. In sprouts you get it. Okay, in beetroots you get it, in peanuts you get it, onion you get it. Now you might say that, ma'am, we are seeing so many food products which contains protease inhibitors. That means what? We will not consume them, right? But it's not like that. See, whenever you are consuming these ingredients in large quantities, okay, then there are chances that these protease inhibitors might start their actions. Otherwise, there are chances that at lower quantities, okay, their action will be very, very minimal. And not only this protease inhibitors, sometimes what happens, if you apply the processing conditions, okay, so part of this protease inhibitors will be destroyed. Okay, so automatically the concentration of these protease inhibitors will be decreased. Lectins.
Can you go to the previous slide?
This one.
Yes, ma'am. As it says that it has major effect, that it inhibits the activity of trypsin and chymotrypsin. Could you remind us, like, what is the role of trypsin and chymotrypsin?
Oh, what is the role of trypsin? Tell me. It hydrolyzes what? It trypsin, chymotrypsin. Right now, I had told you these are what? Protease. What are proteases?
Which affect the protein, hydrolyze the protein.
Which hydrolyzes the proteins. So you are asking like what is the role of trypsin and chymotrypsin?
Oh,
So, tell me.
got it. It also like it inhibits the same.
Yeah, no, this you see in red it is written trypsin, chymotrypsin, pepsin, and elastase. Okay, these enzymes, okay, they are present in our physiological system, right? In our
Yes, ma'am.
physiological
It helps
system,
us
there are
digest.
someone is saying something. Can you tell me? Hello, voice is breaking.
Ma'am, it helps us digest protein, ma'am. Tips is in a enzyme,
No,
ma'am.
no. You might think that, ma'am, all these enzymes are they present at the same place? Hello,
No, ma'am.
hello.
Yes,
See
ma'am.
your
Yes, ma'am.
voice is breaking. It's breaking and coming. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wait. My voice. Am I audible to you people?
Yes, ma'am. You are
Yes,
audible,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you get my voice?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yes. Who now
Yes,
spoke?
ma'am.
I could hear their voice, but one or two people they are speaking there. The voice is breaking.
Okay, just wait. I'll share the presentation.
So can you see the slides? What were we were discussing? Somebody asked me what? Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody asked me something like what
Trypsin,
I
ma'am.
think.
Trypsin, ma'am.
ट्रिप्सिन क्या हुआ बताओ. What happened? Trypsin, chymotrypsin, pepsin, and elastase uh, all hydrolyzes the protein part. Now, what is the problem? If the protease inhibitors from these compounds they are released, okay, into our digestive system. So what happens basically? These enzymes that are present in our physiological system. Oh, can you? Okay. So the these enzymes that are present in our physiological system, what they are doing? They are hydrolyzing the protein part, okay, or they are digesting the protein part from our food. So if they are inhibited, what will happen? The protein will not be digested in our body. So once protein is not digested properly in our body, it will result in so many odd physiological conditions. In the sense, sometimes you'll be feeling like nausea, like feeling. Sometimes you'll be having bloats. Okay. Sometimes you'll be having vomiting. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Now, what is your doubt? I'm not able to get you.
It's clear, ma'am. You explained it.
Now, you told me something like trypsin and chymotrypsin. Something you told I just missed because of this voice break and all.
No, ma'am. I was asking just the role of trypsin and chymotrypsin in our body, so you explained it.
Okay. I think you people are going through any biochemistry classes. Are you having any biochemistry classes?
No, ma'am, we are from some are from engineering sciences, so we don't have that subject.
You don't have the biochemistry part.
No,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay. So those who don't have the biochemistry part, for them, I just want to tell you that the some of the enzymes, okay, they are known as endopeptidases, and some of the enzymes they are known as exopeptidases. Okay, exo as the name suggests. Okay, so exo means from the periphery or from the very end side. Okay, so basically the action of some of these enzymes, which are exopeptidases, they will start attacking the protein molecule from the outer part, okay, or from the sides, okay, and the endoenzymes they can attack the protein part in the middle of the chain. Got it? So I'll come to that when I deal with the protein part. Okay, so in that I'll tell you what are endoenzymes and endopeptidases and exopeptidases. Okay, so just remember these enzymes they are present in the physiological system, and to be more specific, pepsin is present in what? Acha, some of the students are from engineering sciences, some are from the life sciences, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So can anybody tell me out of this enzyme, which enzyme is found in the stomach?
Pepsin, ma'am.
The rest of the enzyme, elastase, trypsin, and chymotrypsin?
In
Intestine.
intestine.
Small intestine.
Yes, ma'am. Small
Okay.
intestine.
To be more specific, as far as I remember, it is pancreas, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
people are
ma'am.
studying right now. Why it is not going in landscape mode? Huh? Okay, so fine. Then come to lectins. So lectins are the carbohydrates containing glycoproteins. Okay.
Ma'am,
So what are
ma'am, slide is not visible.
now it is visible? No?
Ma'am,
No,
no.
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Just wait. I think I did not share. Okay. So these lectins are the carbohydrates containing the glycoproteins. So what are glycoproteins?
And proteins plus carbohydrates.
the proteins that contains the carbohydrate group. Okay, so one example is that in castor bean we have got ricin. Okay, that is the lectin. Okay, and this ricin is extremely toxic, and the little dose is given if it, that too in mice. Okay, not in human beings. So lectins, you remember, these are the glycoproteins, and in especially it occurs in castor beans in the form of ricin. So these are the effects, that is how it causes damage to our physiological system. It basically combines with the carbohydrate membrane receptors and interferes with absorption and transportation of carbohydrates during the digestion process. It also induces the hemolysis, that is breakdown of the RBCs. Goitrogens. These are the phenolic glycosides, and it occurs in different fruits and vegetables. Okay, like in broccoli you find in cabbages. Okay, if you consume them in larger quantities, okay, and if they're not processed properly, then there are chances that these goitrogens might accumulate in your body, and it may interfere with the iodine intake. Okay, and once it interferes with the iodine intake, it will inhibit the synthesis of the thyroid hormones, and therefore your thyroid gland will be affected, and you might be suffering from a disease called goiter. Okay, so during processing, what happens, if you are processing your food properly, these goitrogens are destroyed. Okay, and sometimes what happens, if you wash them in hot water also, sometimes some of the goitrogens are lost also at that time. Okay, so that is, they have told, they're also lost through leaching into the cooking water. Then cyanogens. This is another group of the anti-nutritional factors, and the cyanogens, they're also glycoside in nature, and they're found in cassava, sorghum, then pea, beans, linseed, all these things. Okay, and on hydrolysis they produce the hydrocyanic acid. Okay, and the lethal dose for cattle and sheep, that is there, these are the different studies. Okay, and from which we have taken, and you need not to go for the cattle and sheep, but remember for human it can be as low as 1.5 milligram per kg. And this is the reason why sometimes we say that we should not consume the raw peas too much. Okay, 1 or 2 pods you can consume, but not too much. So these cyanogens, they will interfere with the absorption of different amino acids, and thereby reducing the or interfering with the growth, and it will also impair the nerve transmission. Okay, then another is the saponins. They are the foaming compounds. Okay, and they're mainly found in beans, chickpea, soybean, and sunflower. And one just I'll just give you one daily life occurring instance, wherein you might find that your mothers, when they're cooking pulses in the kitchen, okay, when they're trying to boil the pulses, sometimes you will see that it is forming foams, right? Have you ever observed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and what our mothers do, they just take a like spoon or something like that, and then they take out that foam and then throw it away, right? That is based on their observation. They are doing it from ages. Okay, they have seen their grandparents doing it, they have seen their mothers doing it, and now we are seeing it. So basically, when they are throwing that particular those foams, they are nothing but the saponins. We should throw them away. Okay, we should not consume them. So these saponins, what they do, they will bind with the cholesterol. Okay, and making them unavailable for absorption and result in hypercholesterolemia. Okay, hypercholesterolemia is the excess quantity of cholesterol that is present in our body, which is also very bad because it contributes to the cholesterol, cardiovascular diseases. At the same time, hypercholesterolemia is also very dangerous, because that will not aid in the formation of tissues or other cells that are important in our different organs. Okay, and the saponins, it binds with the RBCs and causes hemolysis, and also it affects or interferes with the growth rate. Okay, tannins. So a few minutes back we had seen that tannins, they are present in tea. Okay, so these tannins, they were the flavoring compound, they are also the coloring compound. Okay, but again tannins, they are the anti-nutritional compound as well. Okay, so whenever you are consuming tea, remember, do not consume in excess. Okay, So these tannins, they are distributed in forages, that is leguminous plants and seeds, and the tea, in tea it is widely available. Okay, and it is antitrypsin, that is it interferes with the action of the trypsin enzyme, that is it will hinder the trypsin to digest the proteins, and anti-alpha amylase activity, that means it also hinder with the digestion of the carbohydrate part. Okay, it forms complexes with vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is very essential for our body. It prevents pernicious anemia. Okay, it helps in the maturation of the RBCs. Okay, so if it binds with vitamin B12, it won't be available in your body. Also, it interferes with the absorption of iron, and all this will lead to intestinal damage, and your growth will be affected. Then phytates and oxalates, both these compounds, okay, they are known as the anti-metal absorption compounds. That means both these compounds, that is phytates and oxalates, okay, both will interfere with the absorption of different types of metals. Phytates, usually it interferes with the absorption of phosphorus and iron. Okay, and although it is written like in phytates is in the principal storage form of proteins in phosphorus in many plants tissues, especially in bran and seeds, and it could be toxic when consumed in the unprocessed foods. Okay, and when it is present in the body in large quantity, obviously it will interfere with the absorption of calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc. Okay, and then oxalates, it will bind with calcium and magnesium, and this oxalate it compounds with, or it combines with calcium and forms the calcium oxalate crystals, which are actually known as kidney stones. Okay, so then we come to gossypols. Then gossypols are again the polyphenolic compounds, and they're found in the cotton seeds. Okay, and now you'll say, ma'am, who will consume cotton seed? You are not consuming the cotton seed, but actually what happens, from cotton seed we get cotton seed oil. Okay, so in western part of our country, especially in the Maharashtra and Gujarat belt, okay, there they are consuming the cotton seed oil. So if you are consuming cotton seed oil, you get some quantity of this compound. Okay, so from, and not only this, actually what happens when you consume, or you can say when you extract the oil from the cotton seed, you get the cotton seed oil cake. Okay, like you get mustard oil cake, in the similar way you get cotton seed oil cake. Those oil cake, if you are feeding to like goats, or like you are feeding to cows and buffaloes, okay, or other animals who are meat producing, okay, and other animals who are milk producing, meat and milk. Okay, so what happens, these gossypols, they get into this meat and milk. Okay, although in trace quantity, but again, if you consume the meat in large quantity or in the milk in large quantity, you get now more quantity of gossipol into your body. Okay, so this gossipol will bind with the epsilon amino acid of the lysine in the protein, and therefore what happens, the lysine absorption will be less in our body. Okay, it absorbs, or you can say it forms a complex with the iron and reduces the iron availability in the body. Okay, solanine. So this is a glycoalkaloid, and this solanine is mainly found in potato and tomato, and its color is around greenish color. Okay, and this solanine it has got a bitter taste, and it is toxic because it causes diarrhea, vomiting, and stomach cramps, basically related to the alimentary canal ailments. Okay, and sometimes it may even lead to paralysis. Okay, so this is in brief in one table. Okay, you can see this. So all this we have discussed. Another thing we have not discussed is regarding the evidence. Okay, evidence are found in raw egg white. Okay, here it is written only egg white. It's not egg white, it's in raw egg white. Okay, if you boil the egg, this evidence will be destroyed. Okay, and if you're consuming the raw egg, then what will happen? it will bind with the biotin, that is vitamin H, and it won't be able, this vitamin H will not be absorbed in our body, and therefore the functions of vitamin H will be suppressed. And these are some of the beneficial aspects of anti-nutritional factors. And basically, due to the presence of these anti-nutritional factors, the different microorganisms and the insects, it won't infest the food products. Okay. And gossypol, although it's there are different physiological disadvantages by consuming the gossypols, but studies have indicated that it has got anti-cancer properties. Okay. And glycolides, they're also having the antimicrobial properties. Okay. So this is all for today. Somebody has given the comment, is the slide visible? The slides were not visible?
And it was visible.
Okay, that's fine. So today I'll stop over here. Okay.
Ma'am, it's visible, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Well, if you have got any doubts, you may ask, or otherwise be prepared for your test. Okay, in the next class. Next class means next extra class. Okay. On Sunday, I think I'll be taking one test, one test, and as well as there will be extra class in which some of the topics which was left out, those will be discussed. Okay, like vitamins, some of the things were left out, and in minerals, that is a small topic that I'll see. In protein part also something, some part were left out. Those things we'll see. In protein slides that I have seen, I think ma'am has not covered the changes that occurs during food processing. Changes that occurs in food proteins during processing. Right, Ponna?
Yes, ma'am.
That part has not been covered, so we'll see to those part. Okay, and I'll try my best to complete your syllabus as soon as possible. Okay, then we'll also go through the different years questions. Okay, one day I just show you with the just screenshots, I think, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so are you going through the practice session for this food chemistry questions, or overall you are going for the this practice? The question and answer session is overall practice, or like subject wise it is being practiced?
I think, ma'am, overall session or practice for better, ma'am. Better for all, ma'am.
No, I'm asking you. I don't know. Like you told them, like Anita ma'am and Kirti ma'am, they are taking the question answer sessions. So I'm asking you, it's like for individual subjects, or like they're taking up like individual subjects, or like they're overall they're going for the discussions.
Ma'am, just food tech question. Just food tech question, ma'am. Discussed.
Achha. Only food tech questions are being discussed.
Only food tech question, ma'am. Only food tech question.
Okay. So don't worry. I'll arrange extra classes, and we'll also discuss regarding the food chemistry questions also. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
So start reading, and what I do, you do one thing, you appear for the test for one chapters. Okay. Don't read all the three or four at a time, because if you are reading all the 3 or 4 at a time, you won't be able to get a master's on on each topic. Okay, which is required. Okay, you need to master each and every topic, right? So you go with one topic. I think food carbohydrate is completed and food lipids are completed. Okay, so you choose out of this 2 topic, any of the topic you choose. Okay, and then you prepare which topic you want to give test on Sunday. Yes.
Lipids
You want to give, that's fine. So if this Sunday is on lipids, the next Sunday will be on carbohydrates. Is that fine?
Okay, ma'am. It's fine.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, and
Okay,
then
ma'am.
next Sunday might be on the pigments or like proteins. If I complete, then I'll take on proteins. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So So that's all for today's class. I'll stop over here. Okay. Okay.
Thank
Good
you, ma'am.
night. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.